Hello, ladies and gentle fish. My name is Mark Roden. In today's video, we're finally back. I feel like it's been ages since I last talked to you guys. And before, the reasoning that I missed so many videos was simply because I was playing Call of Duty. And I'm going to be honest, I'm still kind of playing that game, still kind of grinding it out. But the reason why I haven't uploaded in quite a couple days is actually a genuine reason this time. I was at my sister's for the entire weekend. She lives up in New York, and we went and visited her. It was a lot of fun, but I don't upload whenever I go up there for obvious reasons. It's sort of like a vacation, a Mark Roden vacation. And then right when I got back, I was sick. And when I'm sick, oh my god, it's like I got hit with a freaking with a Fumes Ultra Great Sword from Dark Souls 2, fully leveled up. It's ridiculous. I get destroyed when I'm sick, and I can't even talk. I can't even think about talking. I can't even get out of bed. I roll out of bed, I'm like an inchworm trying to get downstairs. It's a nightmare. So I was sick, and I didn't upload then. But today we're back. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, and I don't even know if I've uploaded since the election. So if I haven't, what are your guys' thoughts on that? You know, if you're an American, honestly, even if you're not an American, you might have a better idea about American politics than some Americans, so leave a comment below. Now I want to make it very clear, so clear that you could go ice fishing on it, that if you leave some sort of negative comment and start arguing with each other down in the comments below, I'll just delete it. I'm not a political channel. I couldn't care less about your political opinions on that matter. Okay, so if you start arguing about it, I'm done. I'm not having that, not on this channel. This is a car channel at the end of the day. But if you guys do want to talk about it, whatever. But today's video is top 25 best Pontiacs of all time. We are trying to do this with a lot of car brands. We've done it with some basic ones, but we're trying to get some of the more obscure ones out of the way. So we're doing Pontiac today. I want to make this incredibly clear before we go into this video, though. I am not a Pontiac guy. A lot of these vehicles, I don't even know what they are, okay? I don't know the first thing about them. So a lot of these cars, we'll probably just talk about them for like 20 seconds and move on. I had to look it up. A lot of these were like articles that I read of the top 25 best Pontiacs of all time. So take that into consideration. This video is not the most serious ranking video for Pontiacs. Without further ado, though, let's get right into it. Sorry for wasting 2 minutes of your time with number 25. And that honor goes to the Pontiac Aztec. And hear me out, because everybody on God's green earth hates the Pontiac Aztec. And honestly, for good reason. It is super ugly. Like, it is ridiculously ugly. But I feel like that's kind of the reason why I'm putting it on the list. It's just so, like, it's such a legendary car because of how ugly it is. It's kind of like the PT Cruiser, right? Like, nobody actually likes the PT Cruiser besides me. I owned one. I've said it before, and I will say it again. PT Cruisers are the most reliable car I've owned yet, and I had a lot of good memories with that car, so I actually don't mind the PT Cruiser. But either way, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, these ugly cars, yeah, they're super ugly, but they kind of start to, like, not grow on you. You still don't like them, but they have a special place in their lineup. Obviously, it's not super special or anything. That's why it's here at the number 25 spot, but I thought it was at least worth mentioning the Aztec. 24th place is going to one that's just a Mark Roden pick because of a certain reason. It's actually kind of a cute reason. Well, not cute, but also kind of scary at the same time. Either way, it's the Pontiac Grand Prix 2002 model in particular. And the reason why I'm saying that is because here's a little Mark Roden backstory. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. And one of my older sister, I have one older sister, 1 younger sister, and a younger brother. My older sister was driving this car one day and got into a head-on collision at like 50 miles an hour, and she's survived. And because of that, the Pontiac Grand Prix 2002 will always be a car that the Roden family loves, because the fact that she survived that crash, oh my god, thank you, Pontiac, good car. 23rd place is a car that I don't know anything about, but everybody was saying it was good online, and it also sounds pretty cool. It's the Pontiac Le Mans Can-Am. That is just such a baller name. I like, there is no car in existence that has a cooler name than Pontiac Le Mans Can-Am. Like, what, that is just so cool. The car itself doesn't really look like anything crazy. It kind of just looks like another 80s muscle car, but it is relatively large, I would say, for an 80s muscle car. That is something that stuck out to me. It's not the best looking or anything like that, but the name itself carries on to this list. I don't need to know anything about it because that name is cool. 22nd is another vehicle that I don't know much about. I'm sorry, guys. There's going to be a lot of these in this video, though. It's the 1962 Pontiac Tempest. Another cool name. Let me explain something to you guys. You can hate American cars as much as you want, but they have the coolest names by a long shot. All right, I like M3s and M4s better than any American car. Okay, trust me, I'm a big BMW guy. But you mean to tell me an M4 is a cooler name than a Pontiac Tempest? That just sounds like a Hearthstone card or some power up that you would get in Black Ops 4. It's so cool. Such a cool name. Car itself, again, I don't know much about it, but the name is cool. Taking a break from the cool names, actually, this one's name didn't really strike. It just didn't really hit me in my feels, but it's going to the Pontiac Catalina 2+2. Typically, what that means is 2+2 is It's got 2+2 seating arrangements, 2 seats in the front, 2 seats in the back. And if that's the case, that's actually pretty cool because this car, it looks really fast and really fun. Well, for its time at least. And so imagine it's kind of like the 300ZX twin turbo where it was like, yeah, it was a super cool sports car, but you could also fit 4 of your buddies in it. It kind of reminds you of that, and that's always something cool. It didn't really look like anything super crazy though, so I didn't want to put it any higher. But yeah, it was an interesting one. Breaking its way into the top 20, however, is going to the Pontiac Solstice GXP. GXP stands for Go X-Ray Xylophone Phone. Yep, that's what it stands for. Either way, the Pontiac Solstice is actually a really underrated car in my opinion. These things were like pretty quick, and they were lightweight. And they were rear-wheel drive. Like, people, yeah, they don't look as crazy as, like, you would want them to. They kind of look girly in a way. And they just look kind of weird, too. But it doesn't matter. It's a little race car. It's kind of like an American answer to the Miata. 19th place, however, is going to go to the first of many Pontiac Firebirds with the Pontiac Firebird 3rd generation. I would say the 3rd gen Firebird is probably the worst of the bunch of the Firebirds, but it is still a Firebird, man. Firebirds are insanely cool. For those who don't know, for people who are probably not an American, Firebird is just a rebadged Camaro, realistically. And the 3rd gen Camaro, it was a cool car. It was the IROC Z generation. But the Firebird was just so much cooler. On top of that, it had so many movie appearances, this car. It was the car from Kip. It was Kip or whatever it was. I don't know movies that much, but it was that car, Knight Rider, whatever that thing was. And that was obviously a really cool talking car. It's in GTA. You can like jump it in GTA for some reason. It's a cool car. The 3rd gen is still a cool car. It just unfortunately is an 80s muscle car, so come on, let's be real here. It's not better than the other Firebirds. 18th place, however, is going to go to a very classic car. I don't want to say old because I don't want to make anybody feel bad if they were born this year, but it's the 1955 Pontiac Star Chief. Again, back with the absolute smack dabble pop Rice Krispies of names. Pontiac Star Chief. I feel like I just walked into a freaking Navajo tribe, and this is what the guys are going to be driving around in. It is just a classic car, and again, I don't know much about classic cars. When it comes to 50s and 60s and stuff, I'm a 24-year-old dude, you know, I don't know much about these cars. But everybody online was saying it's a great car. I believe them. It's a 55 Chevy, realistically, is pretty much what it is. And the 55 Chevy was an incredibly popular, dominant car. 17th place, we're probably going to talk about this one for a matter of 10 seconds because it's so boring in my opinion, but everybody else was saying it was good. The Pontiac Executive. I didn't really notice anything that really stood out to me as cool with this car. But again, people were saying it's great, so here it is at number 17. Moving on. Because number 16, in my opinion, is just a cooler version of that last car. It's called the Pontiac Custom Safari Transcontinental. Really long name. Imagine trying to write that on your registration and being like, yeah, this is what car I'm trying to register today. Not fun, but super baller. It's pretty much just looks like a muscle car wagon thing, and like that's just amazing. Who doesn't? It's pretty much the CTSV wagon before the CTSV wagon was the thing. And how could you not like that? On top of that, it says Safari in the name, so I don't doubt that this thing was probably pretty decent at off-road capabilities as well. It just scratches all the itches, man. 15th place, however, is going to go to one of the best years, probably the best year for automotive manufacturing in America, 1969 Pontiac Grand Prix. The Pontiac Grand Prix, these things used to be absolute beasts, and then they honestly kind of just like, towards the end of their runtime. Like, even though I put the 2002 Grand Prix on this list, I didn't really think it was that great of a car. It was just because of what happened with my sister. However, back in the day, these things were absolute beasts. They were units. They were not to be messed with. They were just strong cars. I mean, you name a car Grand Prix and then you make it front wheel drive? What? That makes no sense, Pontiac. Why did you do that with the last couple generations of the Grand Prix? 14th place, however, is gonna be going to the second of the 4 Firebirds with the Pontiac Firebird 4th generation. It's definitely, in my opinion, better than the 3rd gen, but it's still not really there. However, I will say this one is miles cooler than its Camaro counterpart. The Catfish Camaro is probably the ugliest Camaro of all time. However, the 4th gen Firebird is a good looking car. The honeycomb taillights, the pop-up headlights, the huge cowl induction hood, the T-tops, everything about the wing on the back of these cars was super sick. They came with an LS. Everything about them was an awesome muscle car, but I don't think it holds a candle to the first 2 generations, which is why I put it here at 14th. 13th place, however, is going to be going to the newest Pontiac GTO. The newest Pontiac GTO is the one that looks like a Holden from Australia, and that's because it is a Holden from Australia. But it was a cool car. I mean, everybody like kind of complains about things like that. They'll be like, oh my god, I hate when people rebadge Holden and sell them as Chevys in America. I don't get why. Like, don't you want Holdens? This is a cool car. It comes with an LS. It's rear-wheel drive. Its dimensions are a little bit weird for sure. They kind of look like a bean in a way. I don't know, it sounds crazy, but tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that the GTO, new generation GTOs, don't look like beans. But they were absolute beasts. They were 400 horsepower out of factory. They're relatively cheap nowadays, so you could find one of these for under 10 grand. Like, it's gonna be hard, but you can. Like, they're a good car. 12th place is going to another one that I don't know much about, except the name, like, I like the name, but I also don't at the same time. It's called the Pontiac Beaumont. It kind of looks like a rebadged Chevy Malibu or even a Chevelle or something like that. But it's a cool looking car. Okay, it's probably, if I had to guess, I would say it's probably just a rebadged Chevelle. And if that's the case, obviously it's an incredible car. The name does sound like it's going to tell me that I pronounced croissant wrong, but at the same time, it's kind of an interesting name. It's like this is like a name where it's like I would name my cat it if I knew the cat was going to be overweight. You know what I'm saying? Like if I thought the cat was going to be a hunter killer, I wouldn't name it Beaumont. But if I knew it was going to be like an overweight, stay indoors kind of cat, then I name it Beaumont. Barely missing out on the top 10 is going to, in my opinion, one of the most underrated muscle cars of all time, the Pontiac GT37. These things were just lighter weight Chevys, pretty much. That's pretty much what it was. And yeah, there are obviously going to be people that do build these cars because it's a muscle car from the 60s. Every car from the 60s at this point has gotten big blocks or small blocks put in them and drag raced. So obviously there's definitely a couple instances where the GT37 has been raced like that too. But I feel like it's still so slept on. It's literally just it's just a lighter muscle car. Like, why do people not like this thing? It's so cool. Breaking its way into the top 10, however, is going to be going to the Pontiac Fiero GT. The GT stands for gamer tag. What's yours? Mine is YT Mark Roden. That's my Xbox gamer tag. Go at me if you want to play Call of Duty sometimes. Either way, though, the Pontiac Fiero GT was a unique car. It was a cool car, but it was definitely a problematic car. Don't get me wrong. It was low in horsepower. It had tendencies to just catch on fire, which everybody loves that, you know. If you're like, oh man, we're camping, but I really could go for some s'mores right now. Don't worry, my Fiero GT has 10,000 miles on it. It might catch on fire any day now. We can probably start roasting marshmallows on that. But it was a mid-engine, cool-looking, small pop-up headlights, rear-wheel drive Pontiac. It was unique. It was cool. It was the first of many in a lot of its classes. It was a cool car. It's just unfortunate that they were so unreliable. Ninth place is going to one of the icons, the Pontiac Bonneville SSEI. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest, even though this is an iconic Pontiac of Pontiac's past, I know that, but at the same time, I don't know much about the car. And so I want to apologize in advance because, like I said, I know it's a legendary car, and that's why I got it here at the number 9 spot. I've heard so many stories about how great the SSEI was, but I don't know too much about these cars, man. I'm not a big Pontiac Bonneville guy. 8th position, however, is going to the 3rd of the Pontiac Firebird family with the Pontiac Firebird first generation. The first gen Firebird, I think, is slightly worse than the second generation. Obviously, spoiler alert, that means the second generation is, in my opinion, the best Firebird. But either way, the first gen Firebird is still super, super, super cool. Do you like 69, 68 Camaros? Of course you do. Who doesn't? You'd have to be a blind human being, a stupid human being, and a human being without the use of their hands to say that the first gen Firebird is not cool, or the first gen Camaro is not cool. This is pretty much what that is. And in my opinion, it even looks slightly better. Like in some angles, I would say. I don't know if I would actually rather have a Firebird first gen over a 69 Camaro. I don't think I would, but it's close. They're such cool cars, and they're literally just rebadged first gen Camaros. 7th place is going to a bit of a weird one that I feel like most people didn't expect to be up this high. The 1989 Pontiac Grand Prix GXP. This is when they started, I believe, to make the Grand Prix front-wheel drive, and obviously that is not the best thing ever. Everybody out there kind of would tell you that, yeah, rear-wheel drive cars are cooler than front-wheel drive cars, but it was still a very dominant race car, and these things were weird looking but also cool looking at the same time, and were like front wheel drive competitors. Like everybody talks about Type R Hondas, and they were obviously super good cars. The Grand Prix GXP could compete with those cars pretty frequently. It was a beast. Sixth place, however, is going to the weirdest car on the list, the one that I feel like no one's going to know, but I remember a long time ago I learned about it, and ever since then it kind of stuck with me. The Pontiac Banshee XP993. It's pretty much just a rebadged C3 Corvette, and the C3 Corvette realistically was probably one of the worst generations of the Corvette, but it's still a really unique and weird and quirky and just iconic Pontiac. And they never really did rebadged Corvettes. It was always just Corvette, you know. It was always just it was Corvette, that was it. But the Banshee, it was pretty much just a rebadged Corvette, and that was just cool. But coming in at fifth place, and this might just be, you know, this might just be my new age 2000s Gen Z kid talking here, but it's the Pontiac G8. I was thinking about it and I felt like a criminal. I felt like a man who had committed a crime when I was bringing this up, because I was like, oh man, I feel like the Pontiac G8 should be so much lower because it's such a modern car and it's a list about Pontiacs. They're such a good classic car brand, but it is just that good, man. It is, again, just another rebadged Holden, which I know some people have problems with that. If you're one of those people, I don't know, man. You're just kind of weird. You can lick the plaque off my teeth, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. But it is pretty much just a rear-wheel drive, relatively lightweight for what it is, sedan with a muscle car V8 in it. Like, it's just so good. Like, how could you not like that? Coming in at fourth place, however, is going to be going to another car with a relatively cool name, the Pontiac Tempest GTO from 1964. This is like, I mean, you took the Tempest from before, and that was a cool car, right? That was a cool car name. But then they added GTO to it, and now you're just like, okay, what's the point in that? You know, it's besides to make the name sound cooler. In terms of the car itself, it was, I don't know much about, to be honest, but it looked really, really cool. It did kind of just look like another relatively, like, just regular GTO from that time, like the first generation GTOs. But it had 4 doors, I believe. I believe it did, at least. I don't know much about these cars, but they looked really cool, and everybody online was saying that they're one of the best Pontiacs of all time. So it's getting here at number 4. But you probably thought I forgot. You probably thought that was the only time I was going to mention the first generation GTO. Well, you're an idiot, sir, because at third place is the Pontiac GTO from 1965. A lot of people, myself included, credit this car as the very first muscle car of all time. I agree with that statement. I think what classifies a muscle car is rear-wheel drive, big V8, lots of horsepower, and a very big body. And I think that's exactly what the GTO was. There was other cars before this that came out, like the 55 Chevy, that are like nowadays, yeah, people look at them as muscle cars, but I wouldn't really classify those as muscle cars. But the GTO was a true, cold-blooded, 100% muscle car. It looked incredible. It is a legendary car, one of the most legendary muscle cars of all time. Everybody loves it. But second place is going to what is, my opinion, the best Firebird, the Pontiac Firebird second generation. I think the second gen Firebird is not without a doubt. I mean, again, there are days where, you know, I might wake up and roll over and accidentally bonk my head on the side of my bed frame and think to myself, you know what? Actually, I think the first gen Firebird's better than the second gen. But for the most part, I would say the second gen is the best of the Firebirds. I think it just kind of took everything that the first gen Firebird did and just kind of made it a little bit better. On top of that, this is the Firebird with the eagle on the hood. That is iconic. The iconic Firebird. Okay? And on top of that, I think the second gen Camaros and Firebirds look better than the first gens. I said it, and I'm not afraid of going back on that. You know, I said that 100% standing on it. I love the looks of these cars. I love the performance of these cars, and the legendariness, that's not a word, but we're gonna roll with it, of these eagle on the hood Firebirds is a lot more impactful, I think, than the first gen. But first place, I mean, was it even a surprise? You guys might think I just walked into a surprise party. You're silly. You are silly if you thought that. I wasn't surprising you at all. The lights were all on. Okay, because it's the Pontiac GTO, the Judge. The Judge GTO was just, oh my god, dominant. It was dominant in everything it did. It was obviously a muscle car, so muscle cars are good at straight line performance, and it was good at that, but it was also actually relatively decent at, like, cornering. And people are going to call me absolutely insane for saying that, but it actually was. And I don't know if the reason why it got decent lap times was because of how much power it did have, and so it just made up all the time it lost in the corners on the straights, or if it actually was good at handling. But we're going to rock with the idea that it was actually pretty decent at handling, because it makes it sound cooler. It was just awesome. The name was also cool. The Judge. It also looked incredible. Everything about the car was incredible. It'll go down in history as one of the most iconic muscle cars of all time, and in my opinion, the best Pontiac of all time. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Let me know what other videos that you see in the comment section down below. And again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not uploading for a lot of time. It's not an excuse, I know, but you guys gotta understand. I'm sure everybody will, but I was at my sister's house, man. I'm not gonna upload when I'm there because I'm spending time with family. And then when I got home, I got sick, and I just did not want to do anything. I didn't even play Call of Duty. I didn't even play Call of Duty, and I've been obsessed with that game. That game is a lot of freaking fun. If you haven't played Call of Duty yet, go give it a shot, man. I got like 11 guns gold in that game already. Although I will say, dude, I have been playing Call of Duty for quite some time, and I see some people with dark matter already, and it makes me like sad for them. I'm like, how is that? Do you just not have any responsibilities whatsoever? Do you have school, work, friends, a family? Like, what do? Do you just literally wake up and just play Call of Duty 24? The game's been out for like 2 weeks, and these people are already got dark matter. I got 11 guns gold and feel like I need to get a life. Like, Jesus, man, it's insane. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Buy Shiba Inu, buy cryptocurrencies right now. I have some money in there. I think you guys should too. It'd be really smart. And obviously, let me know what videos you'd like to see in the comment section down below. Now, I don't want to make it clear though. That's not investment advice. I'm Mark Roden. You guys know me as a car guy. I am a car guy. I am not an investor. But I think you guys should look into it a little bit. Do some research on it. Maybe buy into cryptocurrencies. I think it might be going up to the miggity moon, all right? But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Das Vidanya, and have a nice night.